Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In today's video we're going to look at how to handle VATSIM in cruise. So we'll have to start with the fact that you are very often going to fly from a controlled sector into an uncontrolled sector or from an uncontrolled into a controlled sector. If that happens, you are either going to get a so-called contact me, that is a private message which you're going to get over your pilot client, in which the controller is going to send you something like, please contact me on frequency 123.45. And in some cases they also add, do not respond via private message, use the frequency instead. So if you get a message like this, then the controller wants you to make prompt radio contact. So you should react to a message like this quickly. There is, as far as I'm aware, no time limit defined, but personally I would say you should react within like 30 seconds to a maximum of a minute. Rather 30 seconds. So if that happens, of course you're coming from an area where you have not received previous air traffic control clearance. So, however, do your normal check-in. So, Rheinradar, Air Berlin 4 Uniform X-Ray, flight level 350 in Manhattan, for example. And he's then probably going to give you a squawk, and then he'll give you further en route clearance as normal. The other possibility is that you are flying from a controlled sector into an uncontrolled sector. In that case, you are going to get a message, Air Berlin 4 Uniform X-Ray, monitor Unicom 122.8. In that case, you read back 122.8 and you go to Unicom frequency, but you continue your flight as normal, as if ATC would still be there, just that now you are responsible for your own navigation. Now, let's go ahead and assume that we are flying along and we are in under ATC control for the whole duration of the flight. So what could happen en route? Well, one thing is directs. So just like in the departure sector, during cruise we are definitely expecting directs, and if we don't get them from ATC themselves, we can always ask them if there are any directs available. So, let's say right now, for example, we could always ask them, Air Berlin 4 Uniform X-Ray, any directs available? There is no phraseology published for that, as far as I'm aware, so you have to use a little bit of plain language for that. Another thing that can happen is that straight in front of you, a big cumulonimbus or thunderstorm cloud is going to pop up. So, if that happens, we need to ask for a heading to avoid that weather. And the phraseology for this usually is like, Air Berlin 4 Uniform X-Ray, request heading 100 to avoid weather. And an air traffic controller should normally not deny you a request like that when you want to deviate for weather. So the response is simply going to be, Air Berlin 4 Uniform X-Ray, approved, or heading 100 approved, and in many cases they are asking you to report clear of weather. So you simply read back what they have said earlier on, and then you continue along your route until you're clear of the weather. Then you can tell them, Air Berlin 4 Uniform X-Ray, clear of weather, or eventually you may be able to proceed to a certain waypoint while staying clear. Then you can say something like, Air Berlin 4 Uniform X-Ray is able direct Delta Kilo Bravo, for example. Apart from that, there is not really a lot that's going to go on in cruise. What may happen eventually is that when you pass from one country into another where the odd-even rules for your cruising flight level are different. So let's say, for example, you're passing from Germany into France. You are going to be on a westbound heading and therefore an even flight level, like for example 340 while you are flying along in Germany, and then you will be on a southbound heading in France. So in France, on a southbound heading, they're going to require you on an odd flight level, so flight level 3 370, for example. The air traffic controller might ask you something like, are you able flight level 370? You can respond with either affirm or unable, and then the controller might give you a climb or descent clearance accordingly. To close up with this video, let's quickly talk about the thing that none of us wants to happen, but that could potentially happen, and that is a conflict with another aircraft. Basically, the controller is responsible to avoid these conflicts from happening altogether, but in case he, for whatever reason, fails to do so, let's quickly talk about the TCAS event. So, when you get the first indication of your TCAS, so via traffic, with the target turning amber, there is no phraseology published for that, but in that case I would always advise ATC something like Airplane 4 Uniform X-ray traffic advisory. The controller may or may not react to that. If the advisory turns into a resolution advisory, then you as the pilot have to act by following the TCAS RA, and the correct phraseology if that happens is Airplane 4 Uniform X-ray TCAS RA. The controller is, if he's doing everything correctly, going to answer with something like Roger or report clear of traffic. But the controller may in some cases also try to give an instruction, like for example, let's say that TCAS has given you a climb RA, but the controller gives you a descent. Then you would reply, Airplane 4 Uniform X-ray unable. And that is going to tell the controller that you are following that TCAS RA, and he has nothing to say when the TCAS is actually giving you a resolution advisory. So the controller simply has to sit and watch how the aircraft are avoiding one another. What may happen, especially if you get a descent RA, and the controller sees that you're descending, is that he might just clear you to a lower altitude straight away. And you can read that back and just take the descent to the lower level. If that happens, still report clear of conflict by the time TCAS says so. However, you will at that point not resume your previous clearance, but then of course follow the air traffic controller clearance. However, assuming that air traffic control does nothing and simply replies with Roger, then eventually you are going to tell them Airplane 4 Uniform X-ray, clear of traffic, resuming, and then for example resuming flight level 350 if you're climbing back to your original cruise level, or maintaining flight level 345 in case you've leveled off over there based on the TCAS instruction. And then the controller is going to give you a new and revised clearance. The last thing that we should quickly talk about is an offset. It may happen occasionally, even though in rather rare circumstances, that air traffic controller is giving you an offset. So in that case they may say, for example, Airplane 4 Uniform X-ray turn left, or turn left 5 miles off course. So that is just an example. Phraseology, as always, is going to be different in different countries. You just read back exactly what the controller told you, and then you resume the offset. Eventually, he is probably going to clear you direct to a waypoint to get you away from the offset once again, so then you can just execute the normal direct as always. That basically concludes what we have to expect to happen in cruise. So, as you can see, it's overall not too difficult. There are a few options, but on 99% of the flights you're just going to get contact frequency so-and-so, contact frequency so-and-so, and that's going to be it. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you have found this one interesting. If you did, leave a like and comment below. Consider a subscription to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and if you really like the videos, I always appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link that you can find in the video description below. Until then, thank you very much for your attention, and I'm hoping to see you all again very soon.